Developments this morning emerging in the $400 million cash payment to Iran that coincided with the release of American prisoners held in Tehran. The Wall Street Journal this morning is reporting that the U.S. held on to the cash payments until the American prisoners were freed, almost to the minute. The reported connection between the two events renewing concerns that the payment was, in fact, a ransom payment, an allegation that the Obama administration has denied. Here to weigh in, retired Four-Star General Jack Keane. General, good to see you.
Good to see you, Maria.
So, you know, the top story in the Journal basically says that the picture emerged from accounts of U.S. officials and others briefed on the operation that the payment was held so tightly, specifically timed to the release of several American prisoners held in Iran. The Iranian plane left Geneva with $400 million after the Americans took off from Tehran. How do you see it?
Well, I think I see it the same way we saw it last week, and that is the fact that this is ransom in exchange for the hostages. And even if it was not, it's absolute amateurism, because if it was not connected to the hostages, why would you transfer the money so close and give the Iranians an unbelievable propaganda victory? And all the Iranian press, both broadcast and print journalism, for over a week, they've been blasting the fact that they got $400 million windfall for giving up those Americans. And now they've taken 3 more Americans for obvious reasons, because they believe they're going to be compensated for it. And every country in the Middle East believes that this was ransom.
Right. And, you know, President Obama and other officials have said that this money was owed to Iran as part of a long-standing dispute linked to a failed arms deal from the 1970s. But when you look at the actual timeline, the money would not change hands until those people were on the plane headed back to the United States. Jack, explain to our viewers why this is such an important point, and why it being a ransom payment is so critical.
Well, certainly, we know for 36 years that the Iranians take hostages for money. That was what almost brought down the Reagan administration, because we were exchanging TOW missiles to get back our hostages. So that's been a pattern of behavior for 3+ decades. So what we have to recognize is that any way that we incentivize them to do this, they're going to keep doing it. If we give them $400 million for the hostages released, of course they're going to continue this pattern that they've had into the 4th decade. And that's what's so terrible about it, and that's why they have 3 more Americans who have been put in captivity since this payment was made.
Right. And I was just going to say that. In fact, there are 3 others right now in captivity. And, you know, I just want to say, we're talking about this Brazil story all morning, General, and, you know, when the world knows you're willing to pay $400 million in cold cash in an unmarked jet to one maniac, who's to say you're not going to do it to another maniac? I mean, you know, why were swimmers, U.S. swimmers' passports taken? I know you don't have the details on this, but in terms of the security of Americans overseas right now, this story of these swimmers being detained in Brazil is quite troubling.
Well, we don't know the facts of that. And certainly, the criminality in Brazil is well established, and there's been a number of events that have taken place prior, during, and certainly likely after the Olympics as well. But I think we'll leave it to their judicial system to provide the public with what they believe are the facts, and we'll see what we really have here.
General, when you look at the Iran story, does the public have a clear idea in terms of when the next tranche of money is due to the Iranians? I mean, this last $400 million, the president didn't alert Congress beforehand. Congress was not aware that that money was going.
No, the Wall Street Journal broke this story using, obviously, an inside source. They didn't want us to know this. And that gets back to the point. I mean, if we're really involved in a 36-year-old debt that we believe we have to pay, why would we pay that debt at the same time we're released in hostages? I mean, if that was the case, that is so boneheaded, it's beyond the pale. So obviously, it is what it is. I mean, this is ransom for hostages.
So do you know if there is more money to be exchanged in the coming months, where this goes next, and how easy would this be to unravel? In other words, Donald Trump and others have said, look, you know, in the next dealing, I'm going to undo this deal with Iran. Can that even be done?
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Easily?
We have no, not easily, because we have other nations involved that contributed, to putting their signatures on the line here. But the Iranians are going to undo the deal themselves, Maria. What the deal does, it delays for 10 years they're having a nuclear threshold capability and a weapon in 15. That is on the table. But what we know the Iranians will do, because they've been doing it for 36 years, they will cheat. And we will catch them at the cheating. And that is the point then where we put the deal back on the table and strike it, because we caught them cheating at it. So there'll be plenty of opportunity.
Haven't we caught them cheating before, General, and we haven't done anything?
Of course.
Yeah.
We've caught them cheating, and we have never, ever been tough enough on them. That's why the Iranians come to the negotiating table, because they always get something really good out of it. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
and we'll see. And the next president is going to have plenty of opportunity to revisit this nuclear deal, because the Iranians will invite that opportunity based on their cheating.
The Russia connection is also quite extraordinary. To see Russia dealing with Iran the way that it is, to see Russia having inserted itself so long ago into the Syria conflict the way that it has. What's your takeaway on Russia today? It feels like Russia has certainly become a much stronger power, even with a crippled economy.
Russia is attempting, and they're actually doing it, to replace the United States as the most influential country outside of the Middle East. Their military incursion into Syria demonstrated to all of the Arab countries that they stand behind their ally, at a time when the United States has demonstrated for almost 8 years how we pull away from our ally. What I'm talking about, pulling away from Mubarak, pulling away from Iraq, pulling away from Libya, not helping them after the new regime was duly elected by its people, not helping the Syrian moderates to overthrow the Assad regime when that was a likelihood and a real possibility. That is what the Arab nations have seen, the United States pulling away. And here comes Russia propping up their ally, which they successfully did last year. But they are having challenges. They are having challenges taking down the opposition forces and retaking the territory, and that's what these bombers are in there to do, that have precision-guided munitions and a lot more volume as well.
All really extraordinary stuff, General. Always wonderful to have your insights. Thanks so much, sir.
Good talking to you, Maria.
We'll see you soon. General Jack Keane there.